Good morning, evening, afternoon. I'm tatocat. Welcome to my channel. Today we're playing Echoes, the Lucid9 Fangame. Previously, I found out what the party is about. It's really just Kosuke's plan to get Yama and Ida have shenanigans. So get locked in the room with Yama with all of our snacks. Luckily, Emmy's backup plan is to just let us play video games together. And then we showed off our dark humor, which threw Yama off. And yeah, that's where we left off. Let's continue. Just like how not being tasteful, just like how not being tasteless isn't even a choice when the alternative is wasting valuable energy on tact and commiseration for no good goddamn reason. As for the wars themselves, when nations declare them, it allows organized violence to be praised as righteous or some form of realizing destiny. Fundamentally speaking, though, it's just the global elite conducting a slightly different flavor of business. The people who dominate nations with their influence are inevitably forced to come into competition with one another, and the cost of competition is rarely ever too high for them. There aren't many reasons that there would be, not when their currency is the lives, blood, and will of the poor and disposable. Those who their superiors hope will cultivate no affection in their lives, nor generate a profound sense of grief when the cold finally takes them. When business is done through the twin currencies of pain and death, war is its most obvious form, and its popularity has fallen because of that. It's far easier to just get in bed with the CEO's scapegoat, a minority group, or lock your people in a constant ideological circle jerk in order to prevent a revolt. When war breaks out, though, and it will break out, it's still just business. The only reason to think of it as anything but that are emotional instability, stupidity, and desperation for purpose, all of which are bad for business. And while we might have been born free of charge, life is to be paid for with everything we have. In my opinion, humanity's continued existence is the biggest sunk cost fallacy of all time. But my opinion won't change the fact that conflict is our species' favorite way to cut its losses. The Civil War in China is no exception. There's no reason for me to get worked up about it, not when it's so far away. I know Yama already understands this, but the fact that I do as well would probably alarm anyone, especially if they could remember what I was like before I learned how to give up, how to stop believing, and most importantly, how to recognize an absolute fucking face when I saw one. A fucking farce. Not a fucking face, a fucking farce when I see one. Sure, it's a farce wrapped in a tragedy, but it's still a farce. And that makes it hilarious. Right now, I'd rather just stay desensitized to it and focus on smiling. While I'll still have something to smile about. Don't worry, we didn't start the war this time. Not directly, at least. Yama laughs. Who said I was worried? I placed a hand on the shoulder. Who said you weren't? Good point. I know. I fall backwards onto the nearby couch, overcome by an unnerving sense of nostalgia. Despite everything that's changed, sitting next to him with nothing to say feels just as uncomfortably cozy as it did 3 years ago. Like the emotional equivalent of getting under a blanket that's way too thick when you'd be too cold to sleep otherwise. Only now, both of us understand that it's never going to get any warmer out there. There aren't any dead people here either. Not yet, at least. Akita would have loved this. You think she's still alive? You won't be if you keep talking about her, is what I want to say. I doubt I could pass it off as a joke, even if it's intended as one. This plan does tick all the boxes for something she'd come up with, though. It's zany, intrusive, and its intent is obvious enough that everyone involved ends up feeling extremely uncomfortable. But what makes me even more uncomfortable is the fact that I haven't seen Akira in 3 years. And going from what Yama's file implies, I doubt he's had any opportunities to keep in touch with her either. Our version of Akira, that is. I'm aware that I've spent enough time with this moldative muttonhead to make any topic of conversation seem stale when it's just between the two of us. If I were him, though, someone who lost their last constant in life again and again to a dream until they finally returned, insisting that it was over, he was awake, and that all of this was real. I'd be far too nervous to make small talk, let alone say something that wasn't stupid. So, I might make an inside joke or bring up a mutual friend, one with an overabundance of energy, hundreds of half-baked antics under her belt, and an attitude that made everyone around her smile. That way, if I were him, I might be able to initiate conversation capable of lasting longer than 90 seconds. Still though, did he really need to bring up Akira in order to initiate that conversation? I'm sitting right here. Well, within forehead flicking distance too. passive aggressive, retribution aside, I should really say something before he starts looking at me like I'm looking at him. Hard to say. I bet after 10 years in this hellhole, I doubt you'd be able to tell the corpses from the salarymen. Yama's response catches me off guard. It's not the washed up, cynical insight that stands out. I've grown to expect that sort of thing from him. The time scale is the part that gets me. Does he really think we've been separated for 10 years? Or does he just feel that it's been that long? If Way Forward can build the neural node assemblies and retroviral gene drives required to give every operative in the division 30 years of knowledge in the span of 6 months, they'd certainly be capable of cramming a decade's worth of conscious experience into a few years. With the advance of incepts, that kind of man-made horror would be child's play for people like the chairman. At this point, I'm not sure which possibility is worse, and I'll need more information to make a judgment like that. But before I start passing judgment, it would be wise of me to ascertain what exactly in that cinnamon toast fuck is going on here. What do you mean? You've only been gone for 3. After hearing me correct him, Yama looks as if someone just kicked him in the groin. Damn. Guess I should really consider carrying around a calendar. Don't worry. I can be your calendar from now on. Just promise me you won't mount me on the wall or tear me to pieces by the end of the year. Can I draw on you with the permanent marker? Wait, is he seriously asking me that? It's unlikely, sure, but even as a joke, is that really the first place his mind goes? I suppose it does fit the pattern of what people tend to do with the calendars. Might as well just tell him to go for it and see how he responds. Go ahead. Thanks. It's not like I'd ever do that, though. Both of us look bad enough as it is. Yama leans back in his seat, tucking his prosthetic hands into the side pockets of his hoodie. The kind of gray, worn-down hoodie that announces to the world that its wearer has crippling depression. Looks more black than gray to me. I've got to get myself one of those. Hey, look on the bright side. If you wanted to cosplay as the entire city of Moralsk, you wouldn't need to do much. Yama chuckles. Neither would you. After that witty comeback, the conversation starts to feel surprisingly natural. So, nice place you got here. As natural as it gets, with this guy at least. Yeah, I wasn't expecting to be... I wasn't expecting it to be this nice. Think you're going to get enough vitamin D down here? Why? Is that the only kind of D I'm ever going to get? Hey, you said it, not me. No, I'm sure. There's lots of places that joke could go that I'm not going to go down. I throw a playful right hook at Yama's shoulder, briefly forgetting that it's now made of metal. Nice follow through. Yuri and Yama. So... Sorry. No, it's me. Were you going to say something? Not anything important. I just wanted to apologize for what happened the other day. I have no idea what kind of drugs they put me on, but I might have made quite the ass of myself when you finally showed up. So, yeah. If I said anything embarrassing. Okay, we get options here. It's fine, Yama. These things happen. I expected more from you. Is not what I'm going to say. But yeah, it's fine. He didn't really do anything that embarrassing either. It's fine, Yama. I rise to my feet, lean over, and proceed to ruffle his hair with the palm of my hand, as if petting some small furry creature. Much like a helium atom, he doesn't react at first. But by the time I start running my finger along the two cowlicks on top of his head, I successfully extract a smile. My grip is a little harder than it should be, but Yama doesn't mind. I can't say I do either. After all, the bullshit he's been forced fed by teachers and therapists over the years, he won't believe me if I just tell him I care. So, I end up having to do something like this. And if I don't use a bit of force, he might start comparing me to all those people in the back of his mind. Treated like a ticking time bomb at times, a punching bag at others. I'd wager he's built a tolerance to everything at this point. Maybe that's why I can only express my affection through constant abuse. You're already the biggest embarrassment I know. Or maybe I'm just a horrible person. Yama's attitude toward you has increased to 50. Lucky me. Of course. According to Yama, he's the lucky one. Always has been, always will be. And even after all this time, I still don't deserve him. I never did anything to deserve someone I wasn't nervous around. I never did anything to deserve someone who could understand me. But 13 years ago, and for reasons unknown, I had the privilege of meeting Yama Ishimoto. And I'll always be grateful for that. Even if I know this can't last forever. Wanna go play some video games? There. After plugging in the console and 12-inch monitor into the table's built-in charging station, I take a step back and hand Yama one of the two pre-connected controllers. The whole setup is smaller than I expected, but it's probably best to keep that to myself. After all, making 2 dick jokes in one day seems a little excessive. Can you see the screen okay? My angle's good. Yama points to the screen. More specifically, to the massive no signal icon at its center. Did you connect this thing to HDMI too? Wait, there's 2 of them? Presumably. I thought there was only one kind of HDMI. There is. This TV just has 2 of them. Oh. Let me change the source then. Wait, you can just use the remote. Or you can just unplug the entire thing while it's powered on. That works too. Yeah, you could have just changed the channel that was on. I decided to take Yama's technical advice and reinsert the HDMI connection into the port I yanked it from. It takes a few seconds for me to backtrack and figure out how the remote works, but it's probably the better method regardless of time consumed. When compared to USB-D or limniscate optical media and network interface, HDMI is a rather clunky form factor. Limited, inefficient, and barely used since the late 2020s. But that doesn't mean I should treat it carelessly. Being patient with electronics would be a good habit for me to get into. And the same could be said for considering new ideas on how to address problems I think I've already tackled. To be fair, using a clearly labeled button on a remote control isn't technically a new idea, but it's new enough to me that I rushed in without ever considering it as an option. It doesn't deserve that. It's a good idea, so someone should put it in the effort to listen to it. If anyone has an idea that might be good, for that matter, it's our duty to consider its merits, its requirements, or implementation, and how it might stand to make things easier or more efficient in the future. Wise words. Perhaps even the kinds of damage it could prevent today. I'm surprised. Oh, sorry, this is Yama. I'm surprised you managed to get a game console down here. In less than a second after skidding his cart across the finish line, Yama diverts his attention away from the game and towards the ancient plastic box it's currently running on. Like a kid holding an unwrapped present or on Christmas morning, he genially picks up the apparatus in order to examine its surface more closely. Can't even remember the last time I saw one of these things outside of eBay's listing. A curious grin forms on his face as he rotates the object in his hands, viewing it from various angles as he ostensibly recalls the golden age of split-screen gaming. Seeing him smile at something so trivial should be heartwarming. It should be a heartwarming experience, but right now, his controller is the only one that can unpause the game. A controller that, having slid down from slightly raised knees, now rests deep in his lap. If I try to pick it up now, I make it a handful of something else, and I never hear the end of that one. This whole situation is full of things that could be related to dick jokes. I feel like there's been so many of them that could have happened that didn't happen. The one was fine, and I'm glad Spartan Cupcake just stuck to the one so far. Because there could be so much more. I think it's your turn to pick a course. Oh, right. Let's go with... Oh no. Yama scrolls through the menu of the available courses, landing his cursor on the absolute last one I would have picked. Don't you dare. Lunar Lane. Don't you fucking dare. On 150 ml. I hate you. Seriously? Another blue shell? You do know there are other ways of getting ahead without sabotaging whoever's in first, right? No, not in Fabio kart racing. Sorry, what was that? I couldn't hear you over the sound of your mobility scooter reaching terminal velocity. Shut up. You're lucky I'm even playing this with you. I know. It's a privilege to have you as my speed bump, milady. Hey, Yama. Yeah. Do you think they should add a white shell to the game? For vehicle customization? No, you troglodyte. I mean, if you swapped the color of the blue shell and programmed it to do the exact opposite, you want a power-up reserved for hitting whoever is in last place? What brought this on? Society. Oh. Seriously, this game already implies that the best way to win a race is to slow the competition, not go faster. If you separate the competitors into teams, you've got a full-on corporate dystopia. I thought we already had one. Exactly my point. I never put that much thought into Fabio kart racing until now, but I guess you're right, Rui. Now I can't unthink it. I'll never play Fabio kart racing the same way ever again. We'll see how this epiphany goes in the next episode.